other resistance levels again before we then go higher towards the $2. And I don't know if tomorrow will change a lot. It all depends if the date is much sooner than expected. You know, it depends on what the community has already priced into the current prices. We're actually going, as I do this video and as I just said, below the 180. So it all depends. I actually, to be honest, I don't care. If we test the 180 successfully, it will be nice. But then I hope we will maybe move sideways a little bit, because if we move sideways, at least we are strengthening this support level. If we're moving down, it would be healthy as well. I just hope we don't, you know, as long as we don't go down too far and go below these moving averages and maybe go down below the 150. As long as we test this 150 successfully, I'm happy. But even if we go down further, I don't want to go below the moving averages, which are currently at 140, the first one, yeah. And the 200-day is above the 125. So 125, a very important mark. As long as we stay above the 125, we're still very bullish, but I hope we won't see that. I hope we won't see that, but in crypto markets, everything is possible. I just want to say, don't get frustrated. Don't sell if you're now buying. I mean, I can't give any advice really, but I just want to say we are going to see a rally before the hard fork. That is my personal opinion. You obviously need to come to your own conclusions, but I want to just go quickly to the weekly chart of Cardano, because there we can see the next development I'm looking out for. And it all depends on where we close. We are still at this 180 level, important resistance, I said that, and hopefully we will close the week above that. And that's an important development. I think we will need to close above the 180. We won't know that before the end of the week. And what I'm looking out for possibly next week is again the MACD. I think it's not next week. I think it will happen in the next 2 weeks. And I just showed it to you on Bitcoin, the MACD for the weekly. But I also talked about it yesterday. So we are about to go through a bullish crossover here as well. That's an important indicator, but I don't think that will happen in the next week. It might be in the next couple of weeks looking at that. But it will happen before, depending on the price moves. It seems like it's going to happen before the hard fork. And having that, plus all the other positive developments, plus the hard fork coming, you know, it could mean another rally. And I said that before, 850, very optimistic, but it could be based on past movements. So I showed you what to look out for today. I told you to look out for, can we actually successfully test this 180 level? It doesn't look like that. We just 179, but it depends on where the candle is closing. So we won't say anything before the end of the day. And also there'll be a midday update from me. So we're going to have a look at that. And also Bitcoin, we need to look out for, are we testing this 200-day moving average successfully? That's an important one, because the 200-day, that's an important mark. That is an important mark, and it determines if we're actually in a positive trend or not. Right, hopefully you liked this update. If you did, please smash the like button, and if you want to follow me on this crypto journey, please subscribe. There will be another update today at around, sort of lunchtime, and I hope I'll see you in that video. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you then. Bye. Hello and welcome to another video about Cardano. It's again in the morning here in the UK, and we can see something very healthy, I think, now across the cryptocurrency market. And there's also one thing to point out about one cryptocurrency that has crossed another important barrier or resistance level. I just want to briefly mention that in this video. But to me, that indicates that we are still in the bull run, of course. You know that my anticipation is that this year we will see new all-time highs, but it just shows all these confirmations when important cryptocurrencies in the top 10 are going through important resistance levels to new highs. That indicates that we're still in a bull run. So that is important, and I just want to mention that briefly, and we're going to have a look at Cardano. So what has been happening? Cardano still 5% in the plus in the last 24 hours, really good. But we were already at around 189 So we've gone down a little bit, but I want to mention to you why that is totally okay. And of course, something very healthy, still very healthy gains over the last 24 hours. Looking at Ripple and XRP, I mean, that is the significant development I want to point out. Yesterday, XRP has jumped to, I think, up to 106. Now we're at 101 and 15% plus. Ripple or XRP has really gained momentum now. I told you that in various videos, and it has now, it seems like it's securing its place above $1. As you know, $1, a very important psychological mark, and it is similar to the $2 level for Cardano, I think. So we can expect something to happen for Cardano very soon. I think it's not necessarily imminent, but it won't take long, and then we will go through the $2 level on the Cardano price as well. But before we go to Cardano, let's take a quick look at Bitcoin. There's something I want to show you. Bitcoin is still moving sideways, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It has lost a bit momentum, that means, but it's actually good, because what it means is that we are forming, not this pattern, but we are just securing the place where we are. If we are moving up in such a quick move, and we have moved up quite substantially in the last 2 to 3 weeks, let me just make that a bit bigger here. We've moved up quite substantially, and now we're just moving sideways, and we are testing some important levels which are now acting as support levels today. Before they were resistance levels, and that level that I talk about is the 200-day moving average. I mentioned before now a few times in videos that the 200-day moving average is a significant one, and then that people will be fighting around this level, because it now acts as support, and the more we actually try to test it, I think successfully as support, the better for the Bitcoin price eventually. Because what is the nice thing with the 200-day moving average is, if we are testing it more often successfully as support, it will become a stronger support level, and as we then move up continuously to new all-time highs, this 200-day moving average will move up as well, which is important, which is an important indicator, and which means that it drags up the average price, and it also drags up an important support level. What will happen possibly in the next I would say in the next week, so it's an important one to look out for next week, is that the blue one here, which is the 20-day moving average, will probably cross the 50-day moving average to the to above the 50-day, and the 20-day moving average will cross above the 200-day moving average next week. If developments continue like that, that would be a really good sign, and it is a bullish crossover, and it indicates some further bullish movement. So that's an important indicator to watch out for next week. And we can see, very similar to what happened here in the days between the 31st of August and the 31st of July and the 3rd of August, that we've seen 4 red candles. Something very similar is happening now, but we're more moving sideways instead of slightly consolidating. So, and we're actually seeing a small green candle there at the moment. So we need to see what's happening. We just need to hold that 200-day moving average. So it can't go down much further at the moment. If it does, and I don't say it can't, but if we say the 200-day moving average will act as support, which I hope it will, because otherwise it's not a good sign. But if it will hold, it indicates some further moves to the upside. And as I said, the 200-day moving average is constantly moving up. All of that is a good sign for Cardano. So today we need to watch out for, is Bitcoin actually holding that 200-day moving average? Or is that 200-day moving average actually holding? That's important. That's important for Cardano as well, because eventually Cardano follows the Bitcoin price in a certain way. So we need to hold that important level. Everything else is looking good, I think, on the indicators. I won't go through them because I did that yesterday. Nothing really has changed here. There's one thing I want to show you as well, and that is, again, very similar to that bullish crossover that I just showed you. Another indicator that we need to watch out for next week. So that could actually change a lot for Bitcoin next week. That could mean some positive developments for Bitcoin in the coming week, which could fuel Cardano rallies even further. So I showed you that in other videos, but we're getting closer. We're getting very close. And it is that 200-day, not 200-day, the MACD on the weekly, where I think next week we will see this bullish move where we are moving from the red zone into the green zone. It all depends on how, how big is the candle of this week. So it could be next week, or we could have to wait another week. So hopefully this week will close with a green candle, and we need to see how that turns out to the end of the week. If it does, I think next week we can see this bullish cross here on the MACD oscillator, which is an important oscillator people look for and determine trades on. But we're just moving into bullish territory probably from next week. And this bullish crossover, if that one line crosses the other line, that's a positive one. If the blue line crosses the orange one, bullish indicator, could lead to further price increases for Bitcoin. Bear in mind, the 50,000 are coming, important level, important psychological mark, because it's just 50% of the 100K, which will be very hard to go through, I believe. Or maybe not, maybe we just move through with a huge candle. But that's what I want to talk about and show you about Bitcoin. Let's take a look at Cardano, because again, very similarly, we are moving sideways now. Now, I just go back to the daily chart. Moving sideways is not a bad thing. It's actually good, because after moving up from here, where we started, to here, that is like 70% in 3 weeks or 2.5 weeks. So it's a bit fast, right? It's slower than we had the development. It's slower than on Ethereum. If we look at Ethereum, I don't have it open here at the moment, but the Ethereum price broke the 3,000, and we're now above the $3,000. But briefly, we actually went below 2,000 again, below 3,000 again. So it is an important level, the 3,000. But I don't want to say that it couldn't be possible that we go through negatively through this 180 level again. So that isn't a resistance level. We only broke through that yesterday with a huge candle. That candle was only closed only like 60% of the maximum price yesterday. And that's where we are now. So it could mean, if we're not testing that resistance level here successfully, that we could go down below it slightly at least, and then maybe very similar to what Ethereum did, move above it again. And I say that because it is an important level, and Ethereum went through below the 3,000 again briefly for a few days, but now we are comfortably above it again. So because we are sort of moving with Ethereum in a certain way here on Cardano, I say that is a possibility. Don't get frustrated when that happens. We are in here for the long run anyway, and we will see important developments, especially tomorrow, I think. Depends on the date. Well, it all depends, because it could mean tomorrow we get information about when smart contracts will be rolled out. So this can change everything for Cardano, I think. Tomorrow is a very important date to look out for. What we shouldn't forget, we've already seen this huge price increase in anticipation of tomorrow's announcement. But I still believe, and I showed you that in yesterday's video, that we will see massive price increases before the mainnet rollout. So in the next few weeks, I expect a rally, because what you can see here, and I showed you that yesterday, that's like a 700% increase, and that happened before the last hard fork in March. So if we say something similar is going to happen, we're only at 70% now from the beginning of this impulse here. So if we say something similar is happening, we will see over $8 before the hard fork. That's ambitious. It is just a possibility based on historic price moves. I'm just saying it doesn't need to happen, but it is a possibility. And I expect new all-time highs this year anyway, so it would work well together. We have seen most price moves actually before a hard fork immediately, so very interesting. But obviously we've also seen this all-time high in May, and there was no hard fork then, so we need to be a bit careful. But yeah, just testing that 180 support level. So today we'll determine where we are heading. Also, volume is picking up. RSI, I said we were in overbought territory. I wasn't worried, because on the weekly we aren't yet, but we need to be a bit careful. I said not really much to worry because we were in that overbought territory before for I think a month before, and it didn't really have a negative impact. That was here back in February, March, before the hard fork again. So if we say we are before the hard fork now, it could mean we stay in overbought territory. So nothing to worry about. However, what happened back then was we had a slight consolidation, but we remained in overbought level. Something similar might be happening now, where we might be, as I just said, go down slightly below the 180 again. You know, maybe even test other resistance levels again before we then go higher towards the $2. And I don't know if tomorrow will change a lot. It all depends if the date is much sooner than expected. You know, it depends on what the community has already priced into the current prices. We're actually going, as I do this video and as I just said, below the 180. So it all depends. I actually, to be honest, I don't care. If we test the 180 successfully, it will be nice. But then I hope we will maybe move sideways a little bit, because if we move sideways, at least we are strengthening this support level. If we're moving down, it would be healthy as well. I just hope we don't, you know, as long as we don't go down too far and go below these moving averages,